button says we are live. So how are you? How are you doing on this Wednesday? I think this is Ogun's Day. So I trust everyone is doing good. And wherever you may find yourself, I hope that you are gaining an understanding. And I'm hoping as well, all of us, as we begin to learn this knowledge, will begin to incorporate it in our lives and begin to see effective change. Hey, Brian, how you doing? Thank you. All the moderators. Brian, got to get you back on, buddy. Carol, Jerry, Dan, Denise, Caitlin, Miles, so good to see you. Hope, like I said, it's a beautiful day here. Fall is on its way. Hallelujah. But anyway, here's my take on fall. Hello there, Think Angel, Agape Love, always. And it's Wesley, good to see you as well. Shakar, good to see you. Shoots 4 par, I like that. So my whole theory is about, fall and winter is that's when you can really get into, I think, much more appropriate clothing. It's just me. Nothing wrong with the summertime, but we know where I stand. So on that, just by the emails I'm getting, man, this is getting some powerful stuff. So as you can see on the sign behind me, you can see what it says. It says the pendulum swings both ways. It complies with the law. It will return with the same equal force and momentum. Has to. I mean, we found this out even in our modern day science. These are principles. By the way, to let you know, this Friday night, got Anja coming on. We're going to be dealing in the whole psychic science, of which has been erroneously branded as witchcraft and its implied negative connotations. We're going to bust that myth. And spoke to the man himself, Doc Ram, Dr. Miller, yesterday afternoon. And Doc Ram will be on, I believe it's October 5th. So we're going to be dealing with, by the way, hello, Claudette. How are you doing? Jamma, good to see you as well. Mark, with the 7 principles and how science owes its foundation to and continuation on the 7 principles. And as we're finding out, this is universal. We're going to be studying today, not on as well as the all. We're going to get on to the discussion of correspondence, which deals specifically with planes of existence. I can assure you this, and those of you who I've sent the book to, which it's into the hundreds, good for you. Hopefully you're reading it. You'll probably have found the same discovery. What we talk about, the plane of reality, the plane of this dimension. What does that mean? When you ask someone specifically what and define what plane means, it's not as easy. So in my meditation this morning, what I got very strongly was this: the pendulum must swing. It must also be in rhythm with the other laws, no matter how far and long it has traversed in a direction. It will return the opposite direction with the same equal force and momentum. Someone needs to hear this. You're asking yourself, well, Wayne, I'm following this, I get it, but my circumstances have been so negative in my life and for so long that I have a hard time reconciling this principle. Get it, understand it. But what happens with knowledge? Knowledge sets you free. It allows you to begin to move into a different rhythm. We just talked about vibration, polarity, rhythm. And as you change your vibration, understanding the laws of polarity, complying with rhythm and cause and effect, it'll answer and solve virtually every problem. I can't think of one that cannot be. Remember, in the principle of polarity, everything can be reconciled. Opposites can be reconciled. So what I'm speaking to whoever needs to hear this, you're looking at the pendulum and you're thinking, well, how far can it traverse? Here's the point. Thought begins to influence your personal vibration, which then makes the pendulum dependent upon the bubble, the environment the pendulum is swinging in. Does that make sense? Give me 1 second here. Lots of earthquakes going off. Okay. So the pendulum is dependent on the sphere that it's been in. Now, the one thing that's great about learning principles and laws is that when you begin to when you know them, it's like knowing the tax code and all the little loopholes can become very profitable to you. Even the Buddhists believe that there are shortcuts. And so the point that I'm making here for all of us is that once you begin to learn these principles, these laws, that pendulum will begin to reverse back. It has to. It cannot violate any of the principles. That's the most amazing thing about this. Yeah, there may be paradoxes, quandaries, conundrums, enigmas, mysteries, puzzles, but that's why the ancient masters did it that way. Now, something I was thinking about, I was just conducting an experiment before I came on here. Seriously, I was dealing with, I have a very large new television, and it's big. It's really big. But it's ultra black is what it actually says when you're taking it out of the box, which is almost as big as most people's cars. But here's the point. Conducting experiments on these black mirror devices, and it's very interesting how you can begin to do experiments with video and light. I'm using a number of different colors of lasers along with different intensities of light. And it's quite interesting what it actually projects. So here, as we get into the our reading today in the lesson, it says, no matter what, here's the deal, no matter what the circumstance your life has been in, once you become aware of the 7 principles, the circumstances must and will change, and even more so when you apply other principles to your circumstance. That's how it works. Hey, Gary, how you doing? So I think this is just the coolest stuff there's out. I mean, we all like being distracted. I mean, that's the whole thing to this experience in life. When you get to the other side, I mean, if you want to go down to a virtual zero vibration, I think you can do that. I mean, if that's your next experience. Others of us kind of want to increase the vibration. I'm personally looking forward to getting to the next plane. And that becomes pretty cool. But in the meantime, there are some lessons here that must be learned and begun to be exercised. Otherwise, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And that just means more for me. Listen, the universe provides that. And that, by the way, that's the other thing I got in my meditation this morning was this. The universe doesn't have any lack. It doesn't want anything. Doesn't need anything. It's completely sufficient. I believe that's where we all need to be. I mean, you think about it. If we can get to that place where we find that balance, that harmony, that vibration, that rhythm, understanding the cause and effect. In fact, I do believe that that's what the writers of Hebrews wrote about on giving. No, actually, Paul did, 2 Corinthians 9. And it said that through your giving, that the goal is to become self-sufficient in all things, having more than enough to meet your needs and enough to have excess to provide to others. Where did that come from? It came from right here, the 7 principles. In fact, as most of you are beginning to see, it's all over the place. I think the statement could be said and be proven true that the 7 principles DNA is over everything that man does. Every God man has invented, conceived, all the fairy tales, the sacred scriptures that are written. Remember, folks, a human being wrote that. Now, depending on your point of view, where you stand in polarity, I think it's the same message that we're reading here. These men were taught these principles, and then through whatever divine process that their minds connected to, they invented a God. And whether it's the Christian God, the Jewish God, the Muslim God, the Hindu God, the Buddhist God, the Taoist God, wherever, it's all extensions of the one, the all. Now, the great thing about the all is that I happen to like, for instance, the fact that it allows the opportunity for whatever your image is of the divine, the all, to meet you at that place. You know, I've contended since this awakening, why would a God want worshipers? Why would he she demand that either you worship or you're going to get out, Jack, and you ain't going to like it? You know what? That is not only Orwellian, but it's dictatorial. I ain't having any of it. And that's why most of us are in here. We're not having it either. But I contend this. The all, I dig it. I talk to it all the time. And no matter what that manifestation, you know, I said on Jeff's and our show on Sunday, I said, one must deconstruct entirely all former images of their God. Otherwise, you cannot go forward. The image that I had of God was obviously painted right out of the book of Revelation. You know, I'm thinking about this old white dude sitting on some throne, right? And, you know, that's pretty racist. I mean, seriously. I mean, is the Jewish God a white dude, Caucasian? I don't know. Is the Taoist, the Buddhist God, what color is that God? And let me bust another myth. There is no such thing as absolute darkness. There can't be. Just as there can't be anything as absolute light. Once you start getting into absolutes, you begin to find imbalances. Now, I'll contradict that. The all is both and not. Remember the mind coitus here. All truths are half-truths, and all half-truths are half-lies. Yeah, Gary, you know what? I agree with you. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. But the problem is our species doesn't know what love is. Now, I have right here, this is 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8. And I challenge any human being to come to me and say that I live those principles perfectly. Because I'll call you a liar. Because not even the gods can live up to that. Just saying. Now, of course, you can have a different opinion, but remember, let's get the definition of opinion firmly established up here in the penthouse, right? An opinion is that which resides between ignorance and knowledge. Which side of the coin are you on? Folks, it's just me. Okay. Enough of my banter. Well, hello, Patrick. Hello from England. Good to see you, my friend. Jake, Dan, Critical Thinker. So many other people are in here. So let's just get right to it, because I want to get right into the whole definition of the plane. I mean, that to me is just too cool for school. All right. Chapter 4. The all. Under and back of the universe of time, space, and change is ever to be found the substantial reality, the fundamental truth. There we go. What is truth? What is the fundamental truth? I think I asked, someone said, well, define for me truth. By the way, I don't know how many of you have continued to do that. You really need to meditate on the spoon. That was tremendous. That was a gift from the gods. There is so profoundness in that. Just to digress here a second, before we move on, when I showed it to my wife. Now, my wife's an excellent cook. And she looked at me and she said, where did that come from? I said, what, hon? She said, I've never noticed that. And I've been in the kitchen most of my life. Deep, deep insight, folks. Don't pass up the small nuggets. Those small nuggets are worth more than the quantity that we ingest each day here. Okay, get one more wonderful sip. Today, I'm just really enjoying this Bengal spice tea. So good for you. All right, substance means that which underlies all outward manifestations, the essence, the essential reality, the thing in itself. Substantial means actually existing, being the essential element, being real. Reality means the state of being real, true, enduring, valid, fixed, permanent, actual. Okay. I don't have any argument with this. I can still put all of those down into electrical or chemical states. You see how this goes? Under and behind all outward appearances or manifestations, there must always be a substantial reality. This is the law. Man, considering the universe of which he is a unit, sees nothing but change in matter, forces, and mental states. The pendulum, he sees that nothing really is, but that everything is becoming and changing. Nothing stands still. Everything is being born, growing, dying. The very instant a thing reaches its height, it begins to decline. The law of rhythm is in constant operation. There is no reality, enduring quality, fixity, or substantiality in anything. Nothing is permanent but change. He sees all things evolving from other things and resolving into other things. Constant action and reaction, inflow and outflow, building up and tearing down, creation and destruction, birth, growth, and death. Nothing endures but change. And if he be a thinking man, sentient being, he realizes that all of these changing things must be put outward appearances or manifestation of some underlying power, some substantial reality. I mean, you think about it. If everything is in a state of change, then reality is in a state of change. So that there has to be something sustaining all this. And that within itself would be called the substantial reality. All thinkers in all lands and in all times have assumed the necessity for postulating the existence of this substantial reality. All philosophies worthy of name have been based upon this thought. Men have given this substantial reality many names. Some have called it by the term deity under many titles. Others have called it the infinite and eternal energy. Others have tried to call it matter, but all have acknowledged its existence. It is self-evident. It needs no argument. In these lessons, we have followed the example of some of the world's greatest thinkers, both ancient and modern, their Hermetic masters, and have called this underlying power, this substantial reality, by the Hermetic name of the All, which term we consider the most comprehensive of the many terms applied by man to that which transcends names and terms. We accept and teach the view of the great Hermetic thinkers of all times, as well as those illumined souls who have reached higher planes of being, both of whom assert that the inner nature of the all is unknowable. This must be so, for naught by the all itself can comprehend its own nature and being. You know, how many times have we seen this? I can tell you it's replete in what they call the Old and New Testament. Who has searched the mind of God? Who knows the mind of God? Well, this how much we do know. Each and every one of us are, in fact, the mind of God. We are not the mind of God, but we are part of the mind of God. The infinite being, the all, is experiencing a new sensation through you, learning new experiences, experiencing them through you. That's why each and every one of us are unique, special. The Hermetists believe and teach that the all in itself is and must ever be unknowable. They regard all of the theories, guesses, and speculations of the theologians and physicians regarding the inner nature of the all as but the childish effort of mortal minds to grasp the secret of the infinite. Such efforts have always failed and will always fail from the very nature of the task. One pursuing such inquiries travels around and around and around and around in a labyrinth of thought until he is lost to all sane reasoning, action, and conduct, and is utterly unfitted for the work of life. He is like the squirrel which frantically runs around and around the circling treadmill of his cage, traveling ever and yet reaching nowhere. At the end, a prisoner still and standing just where he started. And still more presumptuous are those who attempt to ascribe to the all their personality, qualities, properties, characteristics, and attributes of themselves, ascribing it to the all, the human emotions, feelings, characteristics, even down to the pettiest qualities of mankind, such as jealousy, susceptibility to flattery and praise, desire for offerings and worship, and all of the other survivals from the days of the childhood of the race. Such ideas are not worthy of grown women and men and are rapidly being discarded. We just got to give pause to that, folks. Think about it. Within that paragraph is where every God came from. Every God. Think about it. How can it be a God if it has human tendencies and emotions? They're supposed to be supermen, superheroes, guardians of the galaxy. What? At this point, it may be proper for me to state that we make a distinction between religion and theology. Between philosophy and metaphysics, religion to us means that institutional realization of the existence of the all and one's relationship to it, while theology means the attempts of men to ascribe personality, qualities, and characteristics to it. Their theories regarding its affairs, will, desires, plans, and designs, and their assumption of the office of the middleman between the all and the people. You know, once you get a middleman in there, remember, they're always going to take a part of the cut. They got something, they're not going to do it for free. It wouldn't make sense. I mean, seriously. You got a middleman brokering the deal, and he says, oh, no, I don't need anything. My ass. Anyway, I digress. Philosophy, to us, means the inquiry after knowledge of the things knowable and thinkable, while metaphysics means the attempt to carry the inquiry over and beyond the boundaries and into regions unknowable and unthinkable, and with the same tendency as that of theology. The consequence is this: both religion and philosophy mean to us things having roots in reality, while theology and metaphysics seem like broken reeds rooted in the quicksands of ignorance and affording nothing but the most insecure support for the mind or the soul of man. Wow. We do not insist upon our students accepting these definitions. We mention them merely to show our position. At any rate, you shall hear very little about theology and metaphysics in these lessons. But while the essential nature of the all is unknowable, there are certain truths connected with its existence which the human mind finds itself compelled to accept. And an examination of these reports form a proper subject of inquiry, particularly as they agree with the reports of the illumined on higher planes. And to this inquiry, we now invite you. That which is the fundamental truth, the substantial reality, is beyond true naming. But the wise men call it the all, the Kybalion. In its essence, the all is unknowable. But the report of reason must be hospitably received and treated with respect. Again, the Kybalion. The human reason, whose reports we must accept so long as we think at all, informs us as follows regarding the all, and that without attempting to remove the veil of the unknowable. 1, the all must be all that really is. There can be nothing existing outside the all, else the all would not be the all. It's that whole expansion of the universe. Well, what's it expanding into? Well, I don't think that it ever stops. I think it's an expanding within expanding within expanding. You know, it's the Russian Cupid dolls. The all must be infinite, for there is nothing else to define, confine, bound, limit, or restrict the all. It must be infinite in time or eternal. It must have always continuously existed, for there is nothing else to have ever created it. And something can never evolve from nothing. And if it had ever not been, even for a moment, it would not be now. It must continuously exist forever, for there is nothing to destroy it. And it can never not be, even for a moment, because something can never become nothing. It must be infinite in space. It must be everywhere, for there is no place outside the all. It cannot be otherwise than continuous in space, without break, sensation, separation, or interruption. For there is nothing to break, separate, or interrupt in its continuity, and nothing with which to fill the gaps. It must be infinite in power, or absolute, for there is nothing to limit, restrict, restrain, confine, disturb, or condition it. It is subject to no other power, for there is no other power. Number 3, the all must be immutable, or not subject to change in its real nature, for there is nothing to work changes upon it, nothing into which it could change, nor from which it could have changed. It cannot be added to nor subtracted from, increased or diminished, nor become greater or lesser in any respect whatsoever. It must have always been and must always remain just where it is now, the all. There has never been, is not now, and never will be anything else into which it can change. The all being finite, the all being infinite, absolute, eternal, and unchangeable, it must follow that anything finite, changeable, fleeting, and conditioned cannot be the all. And as there is nothing outside the all, in reality, then any and all such finite things must be as nothing in reality. I can see the minds just going, Poosh. Now, do not become befogged nor frightened. We are not trying to lead you into a Christian Science field under cover of Hermetic philosophy. There is a reconciliation of this apparently contradictory state of affairs. Be patient. We will reach it in time. We see around us that which is called matter, which forms the physical foundations for all forms. In the all, is the all merely matter? Not at all. Matter cannot manifest life or mind, and life and mind are manifested in the universe. The all cannot be matter, for nothing rises higher than its own source. Nothing is even manifested in an effort that is not in the cause. Nothing is evolved as consequent that is not involved as an innocent. And then modern science informs us that there is really no such thing as matter. That what we call matter is merely interrupted energy or force. That is, energy or force at a low rate of vibration. As a recent writer has said, matter has melted into mystery. Even material science has abandoned the theory of matter and now rests on the basis of energy. They tried to prove dark matter. We still don't know what holds the universe together. I think we have an idea now. Then is the all mere energy or force? Not energy or force, as the materialists use the terms, for their energy and force are blind, mechanical things devoid of life and mind. Life and mind can never evolve from blind energy or force, for the reason given a moment ago. Nothing can rise higher than its source. Nothing is evolved unless it is involved. Nothing manifests in the effect, unless it is in the cause. And so the all cannot be mere energy or force. For if it were, then there would be no such things as life and mind in existence. And we know better than that, for we all are alive and using our minds to consider this very question. And so are those who claim that energy or force is everything. Deep stuff. Having fun yet? What is there then higher than matter and energy that we know to be existent in the universe? Life and mind. Life and mind in all their varying degrees of unfoldment. Then you ask, do you mean to tell us that the all is life and mind? Yes and no is our answer. If you mean life and mind as we poor petty mortals know them, we say no. The all is not that. But what kind of life and mind do you mean, you ask? The answer is living mind, as far above that which mortals know by those words, as life and mind are higher than mechanical forces or matter. Infinite living mind as compared to finite life and mind. We mean that which is illumined, that which the illumined souls mean when they reverently pronounce the word spirit. The all is infinite living mind. The illumined call it spirit. Well, I'll tell you what, that just gives me a reason to shout. Okay. I can't see the chat room in there, but even with those of you who are listening, you have to admit, this is just evolutionary knowledge. Chapter 5, the mental universe. The universe is mental, held in the mind of the all, the Kybalion. The all is spirit. But what is spirit? This question cannot be answered for the reason that its definition is practically that of the all, which cannot be explained or defined. Spirit is simply a name that men give to the highest conception of infinite living mind. It means the real essence. It means living mind, as much superior to life and mind as we know them, as the latter are superior to mechanical energy and matter. Spirit transcends our understanding, and we use the term merely that we may think or speak of the all. For the purposes of thought and understanding, we are justified in thinking of spirit as infinite living mind, at the same time acknowledging that we cannot fully understand it. We must either do this or stop thinking of the matter at all. Now let us proceed to a consideration of the nature of the universe as a whole and its parts. What is the universe? We have seen that there can be nothing outside the all. Then, is the universe the all? No, this cannot be, because the universe seems to be made up of many and is constantly changing. In other ways, it does not measure up to the ideas that we are compelled to accept regarding the all. As stated in our last lesson, then if the universe be not the all, then it must be nothing. Such is the inevitable conclusion of the mind at first thought. But this will not satisfy the question, for we are sensible of the existence of the universe. Then if the universe is neither the all or nothing, what can it be? Let's examine the question. The universe exists, if the universe exists at all, or seems to exist, it must proceed in some way from the all. It must be a creation of the all. But as something can never come from nothing, from what could the all have created it? Some philosophers have answered this question by saying that the all created the universe from itself. That is, from the being and substance of the all. But this will not do, for the all cannot be subtracted from, nor divided, as we have seen. And then again, if this be so, would not each particle in the universe be aware of its being the all? The all could not lose its knowledge of itself, nor actually become an atom, or blind force, or lowly living thing. Some men, indeed, realizing that the all is indeed all, and also recognizing that they, the men, existed, have jumped to the conclusion that they and the all were identical. And they have filled the air with the shouts of, "I'm God," to the amusement of the multitude and the sorrow of sages. The claim of the corpuscle that I am man would be modest in comparison. But what indeed is the universe then? If it be not the all, not yet created by the all, having separated itself into fragments, what else can it be? Of what else can it be made of? This is the great question. Let us examine it carefully. We find here that the principle of correspondence comes to our aid here. The old Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, may be pressed into service at this point. Let us endeavor to get a glimpse of the workings on higher planes by examining those on our own. The principle of correspondence must apply to this as well as to other problems. Let us see then. On his own plane of being, how does man create? Well, first, he may create by making something out of outside materials. But this will not do, for there is no materials outside the all, with which it may create. Well, then, secondly, man procreates or reproduces his kind by the process of begetting, coitus, which is self-multiplication, accomplished by transferring a portion of his substance to his offspring. But this will not do either, because the all cannot transfer or subtract a portion of itself, nor can it reproduce or multiply itself. In the first place, there would be a taking away, and in the second case, a multiplication or addition to the all, both thoughts being an absurdity. Is there no third way in which man creates? Yes, there is. He creates mentally. And in so doing, he uses no outside materials, nor does he reproduce himself. And yet his spirit pervades the mental creation. Bet you didn't think of that one, did you? Following the principle of correspondence, we are justified in considering that the all creates the universe mentally, in a manner akin to the process whereby man creates mental images. And here is where the report of reason tallies precisely with the report of the illumined, as shown by their teachings and writings. Such are the teachings of the wise man. Such was the teachings of Hermes. The all can create in no other way except mentally, without either using material, and there is none to use, or else reproducing itself, which is also impossible. There is no escape from this conclusion of the reason, which, as we have said, agrees with the highest teachings of the illumined. Just as you, student, may create a universe of your own in your mentality, so does the all create universes in its own mentality? Yeah. But your universe is the mental creation of a finite mind, whereas that of the all is the creation of the infinite. The two are similar in kind, but infinitely different in degree. We shall examine more closely into the process of creation and manifestation as we proceed. But this is the point to fix in your minds at this stage. The universe and all it contains is a mental creation of the all. Verily indeed, all is mind. The all creates in its infinite mind countless universes, which exist for eons of time. And yet, the all, the creation, development, decline, and death of the million universes is as the time of the twinkling of an eye. The infinite mind of the all is the womb of the universe. The Kybalion. The principle of gender, and other lessons to follow is manifested on all planes of life, material, mental, and spiritual. But, as we have said before, gender does not mean sex. Sex is merely a material manifestation of gender. Gender means relating to generation or creation. Did you get that? I think this is going to this would solve the whole battle of the sexes. Gender means relating to generation or creation. And whatever, anything is generated or created on any plane, the principle of gender must be manifested. And this is true even in the creation of universes. Now, do not jump to the conclusion that we are teaching that there is a male and female God or creator. That idea is merely a distortion of the ancient teachings on the subject. The true teaching is that the all in itself is above gender, as it is above every other law, including those of time and space. It is the law from which the law proceeds, and it is not subject to them. But when the all manifests on the plane of generation or creation, get this, folks, then it acts according to law and principle, for it is moving on a lower plane of being, capital B. And consequently, it manifests the principle of gender in its masculine and feminine aspects on the mental plane. This idea may seem startling to some of you who hear it for the first time, but you have all really passively accepted it in your everyday conceptions. You speak of the fatherhood of God, the motherhood of nature, of God, the divine Father, the nature and the universal mother, and have thus instinctively acknowledged the principle of gender in the universe. Is this not so? But the Hermetic teachings does not imply a real duality. The all is one. The two aspects are merely aspects of manifestation. The teaching is that the masculine principle manifested by the all stands in a way apart from the actual mental creation of the universe. It projects its will towards the feminine principle, which may be called nature, whereupon the latter begins the actual work of the evolution of the universe, from simple centers of activity on to man, and then on and on, still higher and higher, all according to well-established and firmly enforced laws of nature. If you prefer the old figures of thought, you may think of the masculine principle as God, the Father, and of the feminine principle as nature, the universal mother, from whose womb all things have been born. This, more than a mere poetic figure of speech, is an idea of the actual process of the creation of the universe. But always remember that the all is but one, and that in its infinite mind, the universe is generated, created, and exists. It may help you to get a proper idea if you will apply the law of correspondence to yourself and to your own mind. You know that the part of you which you call I, in a sense, stands apart and witnesses the creation of mental images in your own mind. You can't deny this. The part of your mind in which the mental generation is accomplished may be called the me, in distinction from the I, which stands apart and witnesses and examines the thoughts, ideas, and images of the me. As above, so below. Remember that the phenomenon of one plane may be employed to solve the riddles of higher or lower planes. Is it any wonder that you, the child, feel that instinctive reverence for the all, which feeling we call religion, that respect that reverence for the Father mind. Is it any wonder that when you consider the works and wonders of nature, you will overcome with a mighty feeling which has its roots way down in the innermost being? It is the mother mind that you are pressing close up to, like a babe to the breast. Do not make the mistake of supposing that the little world you see around you, the earth, which is a mere grain of dust in the universe, is the universe itself. There are millions upon millions of such worlds and greater, and there are millions of such universes in existence within the infinite mind of the all. And even in our own little solar system, there are regions and planes of life far higher than ours, and beings compared to which we earthbound mortals are as the slimy life forms that dwell on the ocean's bed when compared to man. These are beings with powers and attributes higher than man has ever dreamed of the gods possessing. And yet, these beings were once you, and still lower. And you will be even as they, and still higher in time, for such is the destiny of man, as reported by the illumined. And death is not real, even in the relative sense. It is but birth to a new life. And you shall go on and on and on and on to higher and still higher planes of life. For eons upon eons of time, the universe is your home, and you shall explore its furthest recesses before the end of time. You are dwelling in the infinite mind of the all, and your possibilities and opportunities are infinite, both in time and space. And at the end of the grand cycle of eons, when the all shall draw back into itself all of its creations, you will go gladly, for you will then be able to know the whole truth of being at one with the all. Such is the report of the illumined, those who advanced well along the path. And in the meantime, rest, be calm. Let serenity surround you. That's me adding this in there. You are safe and protected by the infinite power of the Father, Mother, Mind. Within the Father, Mother, Mind, mortal children are at home, the Kybalion. There is not one who is fatherless or motherless in the universe, the Kybalion. Well, there you go. Fabulous stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Some may not find it to be, but for me, this is worth, I can't put a price on it. For me, it's priceless because it has taken my spirit man, my spirit being, my spirit woman. It's in there. It's part of me, part of you, to such a higher plane. I mean, I get it why many of the sages were more than ready to leave this plane. Because when it really gets in here, folks, you're not going to be the same. It doesn't have the contradictions. And when it does, we know then as students, as adepts, as teachers, and there are some masters that are watching. I know they've contacted me. We're learning. And I knew from the very beginning there were going to be those who heard this, that their lives were never going to be the same. that they were truly going to come into their own. So there you go. It's still, I'll go and still think about it today. I've got 3 different books I'm reading and a number of programs being put together, but nevertheless, this is what is for me soul changing, spirit changing. I was actually